In this video, I'm going to share with you a list of the most important real estate vocabulary words to learn and understand, whether you're a beginner in real estate investor or you're studying for a real estate exam. I'm going to show you and explain the words, the definitions, and the most important thing, I'm going to show you how you can profit from each one of these and how it applies to you. That is, if you watch it all the way to the end, packed with information in here. If this is your first time here, welcome aboard. The reason I do these videos is to help you avoid the pitfalls that are costly, and I know that this is important because I personally have been investing in real estate for the last 36 years. Multiple states, condos, houses, land, income-producing properties, but my real estate team here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina has helped thousands of buyers and sellers achieve their dream. So I know that this stuff works, and I know that these words are the most important ones. So if you're ready, give me a thumbs up and let's dive in. So no matter where you are in the United States, no matter where you are in the nation, it's always a good idea to sit next to the smart kid, and it's someone who knows this stuff and does it every day. And they can give you a lot of shortcuts. And these vocabulary words are the ones that you need to know, and I'm going to help you with. So the first one we're going to start with is cash flow. You know, the old saying is, if cash is king, cash flow has got to be second, or at least it's the queen, right? So cash flow is a top priority, okay? Cash flow is a top priority. Why? Because buy and hold real estate investors, cash flow is primarily the lever that is used to gauge the income to a property. And so it's not the rental income I'm talking about, okay? The rental income comes in, but it's the amount of money that's left over at the end of the day after you've paid all your expenses. That's the cash flow. And cash flow is very important to investors, okay? Because this is basically, in a nutshell, profit. It's not the amount that you've sold it for, but it is profit. The next one I have here is ROI. Now, this is confusing because a lot of people don't realize that return on investment, ROI, is the measurement of the money or the amount of profit that is made on investment, considering the percentage of what the cost is, okay? So let me explain and go a little deeper. This shows how well your real estate investment dollars, what you've put into it, are being used. So it's basically, it pays you in ROI. So let me give you the example. You have 20% down. You put 20% down on a house that's $100,000, okay? It appreciates $5,000 the following year. So your $5,000 is your ROI, not on the $100,000, but actually on the $20,000, okay? You see what the difference is? You get the return on your investment, okay? The amount of skin that you have in the game. Give me a thumbs up if you understand that. Okay, here's the next one, comps. You hear this term, but there's a lot of different thoughts about this, but here's the truth. A comp is an abbreviation for a comparable sale, okay? It's a sale that's most recently made on a home or a property in the area of what the property that you're looking at that's similar to your home in that location. Now, sometimes you can't find the comp, okay, for a home in this location because there hasn't been any sales, okay? Now, when there isn't any sales, you basically are looking at the whole area. You're looking at what has sold. You're looking at trying to find a comparable, but if you can't find that, you got to look at what is similar to. Now, you might take things away. Is it a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom or a 4-bedroom? You take 1 bedroom off to compare, and you can also look at the price per square foot. If you divide the price, the sale price, divided by the square footage that's in the property, this will give you a price per square foot. You can use that as a gauge to compare and use as a comp. But the thing that you want to really make sure is that you have 6 months back sold properties, okay? If you go back 2 years, a year, 3 years, those aren't accurate comps. They're just sales, okay? Because 6 months is a gauge, especially in a moving market. If the market is moving up, the comps, every one of them you'll see will be increasing as well. Now, you can also see comps that are going down in value, okay? So that's another thing to look at. But You want to compare what's in the property. You want to compare what has been sold and compare if it had a pool or if it had more bedrooms or if it had some features or it had granite or it didn't have granite. Those are the things that are comps. So the next thing I want to talk about is short sales. Short sales. In real estate, it's when a financially distressed homeowner sells their property for less money than is due on the mortgage. Okay? So they could have a bank or a lender, but the bank and lender have to agree because they are, let's say they had a mortgage for $100,000 and the property is only worth $50,000. So they have a 50% deficit, $50,000 less. You can't get out from underneath of it unless you write a check for that difference. Okay, but the point with the short sale is the bank would agree to sell the property to another person, and the bank would then take whatever's left over at that sale, put it towards the mortgage, and take it as a loss. Now, the bank and lender have to agree, so it allows the bank to take a loss. This doesn't always work out. It's not a guarantee of closing. So if you're in a short sale for a property, it's more like fishing because you have your line in the water and everybody has to agree to something happening. Now, these don't always happen, but we'll probably be seeing more of those coming in the future. Okay, wholesaling a property. This is the confusing thing because when you wholesale property, people think of, oh, I'm going to go to the Costco and I'm going to buy at wholesale, or I'm going to go right to the person. Now, that's not always the case here. Real estate wholesaling, the wholesaler contacts a homeowner or a seller, and they find out if they're interested in someone in selling it, and then they find someone to buy it. So they're like a middleman, okay? Now, they don't title the property, they're just connecting the property, okay? The wholesaler contacts the homeowner, and a buyer buys it at a higher price with the seller, with the wholesaler, keeping the difference in profit, okay? You see it? It's like a finder's fee. There's no skin in the game on this one, guys. Okay, so this is not real estate investing. This is flipping, which I'm going to get into that in a minute. But it's not a buy and hold strategy. It is I'm shuffling paper around and it's musical chairs. Whoever is the last holding the chair may end up getting, have to be standing, okay, when the music stops. It's a finder's fee. Real estate wholesalers, they find and contract with distressed properties. Now, there's a reason. Why wouldn't these normally sell? There's a reason usually, guys. So do your research, do your investigation, smell it, see it, touch it, understand it. You don't want to get burned by these because many people do. Okay, so here's flipping. People do make money in wholesaling. People do make money in flipping. But I'm just going to tell you that it's also called, when we talk about flipping, it's also called wholesaling in the real estate investing. But it's not an investment truly, because you're not really investing other than you're not holding it. You're turning it. That's the speculation, okay? So this is a type of real estate strategy which someone would purchase a property, not to use it, okay, but with the intention of selling it to make a profit. So for instance, buy a house, make a couple cosmetic changes, you fix paint, you change out some cabinets, and you put some tile and you make some floors look good, and you put it back on the market in the hopes of making a profit. Now, not everybody makes a profit, okay? Many times you see people who are out there wholesaling, and if you haven't done your research and you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to tell you this, a lot of people get holding the bag, especially if you have a mortgage on this and you're carrying it for longer than you thought and you couldn't turn it. What was thought to be a profit turns out to be what? Yeah, you're the one who's writing the check, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to tell you about real long-term real estate investing where you have equity and skin in the game. Over time, usually wins, okay? So, and I have other videos here on this channel about that. So let's talk about equity. So that's the thing. What is equity? Equity is the difference between the fair market value of a property and the money that you owe on the property, the mortgage, right? So when you're calculating, what you have to do is deduct the mortgage value from the fair market value And if you do that, you're going to come up with the figure of how much basic value you have in the property. Now, inflation works for you as a long-term investor if you're holding long-term, because if it appreciates every year a little bit, it compounds as someone else might be paying your mortgage down if you're renting the property, okay? So I have another video here as well on inflation, so if you want to watch that on this channel, it's pretty helpful as well. But the mortgage, let's go with the mortgage. Mortgage is the actual paperwork, the debt instrument. It's secured by collateral, that's the property, the real estate, okay, that the borrower is obligated to pay back, okay, over a predetermined set of payments. So you get a fixed rate mortgage, 30-year mortgage, you've heard the term, 15-year mortgage. It's the same amount over a period of time. You have the same amount of predetermined payments, and that's what you pay back over time. Now, part of that mortgage goes with one of the other ones I'm going to talk down here in a minute. Now, when you are purchasing a property, let's talk about concessions. When you are purchasing a property, concessions are typically added onto the mortgage or used to pay closing costs. Now, you've heard the term, maybe you've heard the term seller's concessions. Concessions don't give the buyer back cash at closing. You don't do that, okay? You can't do that. So what a concession does, it can be used to cover, some of the buyer's down payment, but it's really intended to reduce what the buyer pays at closing. So it could be closing costs, okay? Now, this money can also be used for something else. If you get into an inspection of the property after a certain amount of time in a contract, there's an option for an inspection or not an inspection. If you do one and you come up with the house having some issues, sometimes this concession can also be used as a seller concession to pay for something that comes up during that inspection. In other words, let's say an air conditioner doesn't turn on, okay? The seller doesn't want to repair it, okay, fine. The seller can make a concession at closing to pay a certain dollar amount, and it would go towards the buyer in order to take care of that fix, okay? And then the buyer moves forward and the seller moves forward, so that's a concession. So escrow. This can be used several different ways as well, okay? And escrow is when a neutral third party, could be, going into an account, holds funds during a transaction, okay? You've heard of things going into escrow, or you've heard of an escrow account where earnest money goes or something like that. But in real estate, it's used as a way to protect both the buyer and seller because it's a third party. If you gave that money to somebody, they might want to take that money if something goes bad, right? But during the home purchasing process, this money is set aside to go towards the closing, okay? It's like a down payment or a layaway, I guess you want to call it, but it's actually applied to the closing when the property, both buyer and seller, close. Now, since it's a down payment, this down payment also goes into the buyer, if it's a buyer and they call an earnest money, it's an earnest money check. They put a little bit of money down to show I'm good, in good faith, I'm going to move forward. That earnest money goes into the escrow account, and it can be used and will be used towards closing, but you don't take it out of the escrow account until all parties agree to what's going on. If the deal goes bad, it'll stay in escrow, and usually it'll go to like an interpleader court or someone to determine, unless the buyer and seller agree to who gets that money. That is why it's held in escrow, because it's not just I'm just taking the money, okay? The third party. So the amortization. Okay, amortization, if you have a 30-year mortgage, a 15-year mortgage, a 10-year, whatever it might be, is the schedule of your monthly payments, your mortgage payments, okay? As you continue to make your payments, the interest around this dollar amount that you have in there will decrease because you're making the payments. Every month, it's going down a little couple bucks, right? So the more payments you make towards your mortgage balance, it kind of knocks it down. So you've maybe heard the term that where you're getting an amortization table. So it will break it out over 30 years, month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it'll keep on going. And it's a long, if you print one of these out, it's a long sheet, but it'll show you as you make your payment how much mortgage balance you have, how much equity, back to that other word, we have, okay? So appreciation. This is what most investors are looking for on top of cash flow. The appreciation is the increase in value of a real estate property over a period of time. And so that's the difference between what you paid for it and what you could sell it for. It's appreciated that much, or what the value of it is, okay, for a property that's given. So hope this was helpful. I just want to say thank you for watching. If you've been watching my videos, I really just want to say thank you. I appreciate you. And so please comment in the below if I want to know what your thoughts are, what you think about these videos, what you think about this one. I've got hundreds of super helpful videos here on this channel, so go ahead and check them out. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.